Hello everybody and welcome to VGWAworld. I'm Cobretti.
And I'm Wally.
And as a quick announcement, VGWAworld is on multiple social media platforms now.
So why not? Be like all the other cool kids in the neighborhood.
So make sure to go pick on Wally on Instagram or TikTok, and if you must, feel free to patronize me on Facebook.
And if you really want to patronize us, why not put hashtag Ahmed Johnson HOF24.
And come join us today as we count down the top 10 reasons that corniest mother's boy, Jim Cornette, should like wrestling video games.
You know, I think I'd be very disgruntled too if I wasn't in any wrestling video game. Wait, I'm not.
But first, as you go through this video, and if you enjoy our brand of crazy, make sure to like and subscribe. It helps us move on from YouTube jobbers to the upper echelons of enhancement talent. Barry Horowitz, pat on the back. As one of the most polarizing figures in all of pro wrestling, definitely not outspoken, Mr. Cornette has not been shy about his hatred for video game wrestling and video game wrestlers. So let's hope we can get through this list without being contacted by the law offices of Stephen P. New. Number 10. Referee countouts. While Wally and I may not agree with everything that Jim Cornette says, I would say that there is a huge problem with referees in both AEW and WWE.
I'll be honest, I'm pretty confused. I'm gonna stick to the video game count.
It's to the point that whenever we sat down and have a discussion, that we're looking at each other going, wait, what is the countout rule? Is it a 10 count? Is it a 20 count?
You wonder if they lose count after they switch hands?
I am okay with the ref giving some leeway with the count out, such as the slow 10 count, where the count goes 1, 2. I will go on to say that the majority of modern day matches have the ref looking outside going, hey, no, don't do that.
They may be shaking their finger no, but they're saying yes.
And then the wrestlers continue to brawl outside the ring for up to 5 minutes. Yeah, that's right, I'm picking on you, Mr. Moxley. In the past, there were exceptions to this rule.
I think as big wrestling fans, we all know there's exception to the rule.
During a championship match, the announcers wouldn't try to bury the referee, and they would do things like, well, the referee knows what's on the line, and he's letting them go at it.
Okay, that's a good point. I like it when they let them go at it, especially when it's impactful to the match. But if it's boring, they need to get their asses back in the ring.
But for your regular run-of-the-mill TV match, the referee should be counting. And that's why Jim Cornette should like video games, because once a wrestler steps outside, the referee starts counting.
On one point, if you notice in modern wrestling games, especially in the WWE, we just don't know about AEW, when they get to the later counts, they do slow down a bit.
Good old program logic. Maybe Dave and Earl Hebner were actually robots. How much money did Ted DiBiase spend on that robot referee, brother?
Number 9. Undersized wrestlers actually look muscular. Now I understand I'm hitting a touchy subject, even for myself on this one. I'm sort of undersized, but I'm definitely not muscular. Mr. Cornette has his own opinions on undersized wrestlers, and he may have his own opinions on how they should be shaped and how they should be sized up. Well, Mr. Cornette, I have a solution for you. They're called wrestling video games. In this era of wrestling video games, you have undersized wrestlers that are ripped, that can actually body slam 7-foot wrestlers.
It's a good thing that Marco Stunt was released from AEW before Fight Forever came out. I think having Marco Stunt body slam Wardlow would give Jim Cornette a brain aneurysm.
I get it. It's just a video game. It's not real. Sure, video games lack what wrestling actually is, but all the people who aren't able to wrestle can make and be the character they want to be, and they can live out the dream of being a wrestler in wrestling video games.
Number 8. Johnny Gargano can have expression animated for him, affectionately known as Johnny Sameface by Mr. Cornette, because he has the same look for his whole range of emotions. It's kind of like that Darth Vader meme. This is one topic that I really haven't noticed too much with Johnny Gargano, but I will share a story about being live at the Royal Rumble. Most of the crowd got there early, maybe we were all expecting there to be a dark match or preliminary matches, but there was absolutely nothing. On occasion, since they were filming the pre-show, they would turn on the house lights and flash them towards everybody, and that got a big reaction. So that was the baseline for the rest of the night. Which wrestlers, when entering the Royal Rumble, would get a bigger pop than the house lights, and which ones would be on the lower end? And guess what? The house lights beat out Johnny Gargano. I would almost dare say he got the biggest non-reaction of the whole night. So maybe with an addition of adding in a couple of more facial animations for him, they can pipe in even more crowd noise than they usually pipe in for Mr. Gargano.
Number 7. Kenny Omenga. His game will never be released. If you have listened to the Jim Cornette show, he's made it very apparent how he feels about Kenny Omenga and how he feels about video games. So this one will actually be pretty hard to convince Mr. Cornette on loving video games.
But it's starting to seem like AEW Fight Forever is never coming out, meaning Jim Cornette wouldn't be exposed to Kenny Omenga. I bet you he likes video games now.
When it comes to the AEW Fight Forever video game, Cobretti and myself have voiced our opinion and concerns in several videos so far. Just like Jim Cornette, I also wonder, why aren't they making a game for everyone? Why do we have to have all the blood and guts and limit the amount of people that can purchase the game? It's a business. Also, I try to figure out, as a business, they're there to make the game, while AEW just provides the information. They shouldn't be telling them how to make the game or how to develop the game. But it seems Kenny Omega thinks it's his job because he loves video games. I love video games, but I don't tell him how to make them. Don't get me wrong, Kenny Omega has skyrocketed in the wrestling industry through his career. He is one of the top wrestlers in the industry. But when it comes to video games, let's leave it up to THQ and UWC to get this game done right. All we want is a good wrestling video game. And remember, UWC has made some of the best wrestling video games.
Number 6. Tags are actually made correctly in tag matches. That's right, unlike real life, the wrestling video game has paid attention to the little details, such as your wrestlers holding on to the tag rope in order to make a tag. And tags only occur whenever tag team partners slap hands, and not doing that good ol' I slapped you in the back, I tagged myself in maneuver. And in addition to the actual rules for tagging in, once your partner is tagged in, they can only stay in the ring for a fixed amount of time. So everybody's not in the ring at the same amount of time it takes to read War and Peace. And before we get to the second half of our top 10 list, do you like wrestling? Do you like video games? Do you like retro games? If you said yes to any of those, make sure to check out WrestleRank as we play through all the console wrestling video games.
Number 5. Skippable Entrances. I get why entrances are so important. They hype the crowd, they build the energy. When the lights go down, the music hits, the pyro goes off. It draws the crowd in. But why does it have to take anywhere from 10 or 15 minutes for them to get to the ring?
With WWF Raw taking up 3 hours of programming, I really think they use entrances as filler.
When a match lasts only 3 to 5 minutes and the entrances combined are 30 minutes, you feel being robbed for the actual action. So here's a resolution. Play a video game that has skippable entrances. Those are the best. Hit the music, know who it is, skip to the action. That is one of the best things about video games, is controlling when the action starts. Trust me, I get the excitement that you feel the first time the entrance hits in a video game, but when you've been playing for a few hours, that entrance gets very boring. So just skip it and enjoy what you really bought the game for. The Creator Wrestler.
Number 4, he can officially rename his favorite and least favorite wrestlers. Braun Strowman? Check. Oscar? Check. Almost. His Little Dog Pockets? The Hard to Leave Boys? Twinkle Toes? The list goes on.
Number 3, no commercial breaks 2 minutes into the match. I get commercial breaks. You gotta get paid somehow. We don't. Just for your knowledge, we don't get commercial breaks or paid.
And really, this is a problem in the WWE, with the majority of the show being dedicated to entrances and interviews. So whenever a match comes on, I just want to watch the damn match.
But why does it have to happen so quick during a match? One of the worst times is when the action is actually starting to pick up and then they take a commercial break. When you return, they're both resting, and then they show you a replay of what you missed. I call BS on that. Because I wasn't there doesn't mean I should have missed the action. So, with wrestling video games, you abolish your commercials. You can actually enjoy a match all the way through, even if you do CPU versus CPU.
If WWE 2K24 has commercials, we're going into hiding.
You're right, there are no commercials in the game, but that's because you spent money on the video game. Again, there can be all reasons why there's no commercials in video games, but the point is there's no commercials, and you can enjoy the match from start to finish. If you're really wanting to pay for a sponsor, then hit that subscribe button, and that way we can collect monetization from the channel and you can watch commercials before every video we release.
Don't worry, sometimes commercials do play before our videos. We just don't get paid for them. Number 2, UWC. has been preserved by the Video Game History Foundation. This means that the Midnight Express, consisting of beautiful Bobby Eaton and sweet Stan Lane, have their names archived and forever stored. Even though both wrestlers made huge contributions to the world of wrestling, it's not like WWE is going to be providing programming anytime soon or ever on the duo. With wrestling reaching a smaller audience than ever before in America, video game culture has kept on spreading. You also have to take into account the recent Endeavor purchase of WWE. We have already seen the WWE library shrink once it moved over to Peacock. I would not be surprised if it shrinks again in the near future. With their inclusion in this video game, hopefully it will expose future generations to the talented ring work of Bobby Eaton and Stan Lane.
Number 1. Wrestlers sell more than in real life. There's one thing in wrestling that always keeps fans into the match. Selling the match. I get sometimes that things kind of go awry or kind of get crazy in a match and the wrestler forgets what they're supposed to sell. I mean, take when Triple H did a pedigree on the Ultimate Warrior. He just sprung back up. Which for finishers, that should always be sold since that's the move that ends the match. Again, in wrestling there are those exceptions, and one of those exceptions can be WrestleMania. Admit it, we all love that 1, 2, and they kick out. It's the only hope and dream we have during a pay-per-view and a critical moment in the match.
Honestly, I have a little bit of a problem with this too. Whenever you see wrestlers like MJF performing avalanche tombstone pile drivers from the top rope, that should be a 3 count always. And after a move like that, I think the opponent should be carried out on a stretcher.
So how do wrestling video games sell better than real-life wrestlers? Now I'm talking more current gen here. When you perform the move in a game, the AI reacts the way it thinks it should based off the amount of punishment you gave it. So why not take Cobretti's favorite weapon in every wrestling video game, the chair, and hit your opponent in the head with it? The reaction is what you would expect, and your opponent will lay on the ground, grabbing their head in pain as if it was, well, sold. When wrestlers aren't selling the moves in the match, it really draws the crowd away from the match. But in video games, you're always tied in because it's sold each time. And I'm sold on that.
So thank you for joining us today, and make sure to join us next time for our next episode of WrestleRank, where we're going to be playing Fire Pro Wrestling for the PC Engine.